Hi guys, thank you for tuning in and welcome to my channel. In today's episode, I wanted to talk about tips while traveling and how to stay on AIP while you are vacationing or even traveling just anywhere. So travel can be challenging when you are on a restrictive diet, and AIP definitely has a lot of restrictions. So how, first of all, is it even possible to do that? And then what are some tips? So based on my own personal experience, doing AIP, even though now I have reintroduced certain foods back, but I still largely follow a paleo diet. And therefore, it can be challenging when I'm traveling. But over the past 4.5 years or so, I have done a lot of travel, domestically within the US. And I also have traveled internationally to India. I would say about 3 or 4 times in that time frame, because I used to travel every year to India. So considering that being a really, long trip, I had to do a lot of planning, and it used to be really challenging. So based on all my experiences thus far, I have been able to put some tips together for you guys, and I thought I'll share that. And then, I just want to say that be open to it. Don't be too afraid, because some people avoid traveling altogether and they say that, it's not going to be possible. But if you really want to stay on AIP for a long period of time, then you want to, be able to get back to doing things on a routine basis, so that you don't feel like, you're too restricted or too basically too inhibited, right? Of course, now in times of the pandemic, you want to take sufficient precautions too, and I just don't want to be saying that go and travel everywhere, but of course, see the restrictions, travel restrictions in an area. But if you are able to travel, and or if you need to travel, for some personal issues, it is indeed possible to stay on AIP while you travel. All right, so let's get started with some of the tips. So one of the first things I will like to say is that when you're about to travel, or just before you're about to travel, whomever you are traveling with. So if it is just your own family, then it's, they obviously know that you are on AIP diet. But if you're traveling with some other friends, then make sure that you share that information with them, ahead of time. Let them know that you are on a restrictive diet, and that because of that, there might be some challenges down the road, which, they may also have to compromise sometime. So I think that is going to be useful, talk to them and enlist their support up front. And then that way, things will be a lot easier. All right, what next? Let's see some other tips. So as I said, discuss with your family and our friends in advance, give them a heads up. Also remember to do your prep shop for pantry or specialty ingredients ahead of time. And I'll talk about, some specific things when you are, whether you're going to be staying in a rental home or a hotel. But, there could sometimes, say, for example, in my most recent trip, we had first traveled to our friend's place, and we stayed in their home for a couple of days. And then after that, we, all together, as a group, went and, traveled some more, and then stayed in a rental home. So because I had, I was going to be going first to my friend's home, what I did was I directly shopped online, Amazon, and then some pantry ingredients like cassava flour, coconut sugar, coconut milk, etc. I kind of just shipped it to her home, so that when I reached her home, those things would be available there, and I didn't have to waste time shopping for those things. Or, you could just get small amounts of these ingredients and, bring it with you. And then, most important thing, be positive and really look forward to your trip, because that's going to be very, very important. Next, for the road itself, right? Either a road journey or if you're going to be traveling by airplane. Now I'm going to tell you, essentially the different home cooked foods that I bring. So this can be either, even if it's a road journey, you can do that. Sometimes you may need if the weather is too hot, then you may need a cooler if you're traveling by road, say for 4+ hours in the summer, like in the middle of summer when it's like it touches 100 degree, then things can get bad. So you will definitely need a cooler. But if you're, say, traveling by plane, so from your home to the airport, then when you're traveling by plane, you always, spend a lot of hours, because we need to reach in a couple hours in advance, and then you have to wait for your luggage to come back, come out and all that. So there's a lot of time gap. So essentially what I do is, these are my standard things, whether I'm traveling domestically in the US or when I'm traveling internationally to India. So chicken kebabs, so chicken patties are my most favorite things to make, because they are like dry, and they very travel well because there's like no wet liquid, right? So these travel well, and I generally will wrap them in like foil and place them like in a cool bag. If it's not very hot, then just a cool bag, insulated bag. And the other thing that I always will make are some kind of flatbread, using cassava flour. So cassava flour and spinach or fenugreek, that's called as a methi paratha. That's one thing that I love to make when I'm traveling. Or you could just make plain cassava tortilla too, because then you can, use it as a vehicle for eating these chicken kebabs, as a wrap. You can make them into wraps. So when I'm traveling by airplane, what I do is I even like do this in advance. So I'll cook the patties, make the flatbread, and then when I'm, just before I'm traveling, I even mix all this up and make a wrap out of it. Stuff the flatbread with the chicken kebab, break it into pieces, add some avocado, lettuce, and then a dash of cilantro chutney, and then wrap it all together tightly as a wrap, so that I can just take it out and have my meal just before my flight takes off. So that's very, very helpful. Then the other thing I like to do is bake sweet potato. So bake sweet potato, or even boil or steam them. You can cook them in the instant pot, and then carry them in a container. And these are, just because they're starchy, and they're also delicious anytime, for a snack. So if my other meal, gets over, and then there is still time, and this happens in my international flight, which is like 14-hour flight to India. So then I'll take out this after that, after 4 hours. When I feel hungry, then I'll have this, and I'll have some fruits packed in different containers, like berries are my favorite. And then I also like, cantaloupes, or other fruits like pomegranate, apples, cut apples, and also papaya. So all these things, I can have in separate containers. And then veggies like celery and carrot. And these last for quite a while. These can last for 8 to 10 hours without problem, so I'll just, bring these too, and they are great for munching when you're hungry. Then there are some more snacks. Now, so I don't necessarily bring all of these things all the time, but I just wanted to show you all the options, so that when if you are traveling, then you can pick and choose depending upon the length of your journey, or you just kind of be aware of the different options. So the homemade cereal bar is something that I've recently started bringing in. So for my recent trip, I brought this along because I knew that breakfast would be an issue, when we were staying at the rental home. And so what I did was I made my homemade cereal bar, and then I also brought this Lovebird cereal, which I am in love with. Lovebird, love, right? So this is grain-free cereal, and it's so delicious. And what I do is, bring this in a little bit Ziploc bag. You don't have to bring the whole box. And then this becomes easy for me to have cereal. Now, I had it with cashew nut yogurt, which incidentally my friend had bought for me. She knew that I don't into dairy, so she had bought some cashew nut yogurt for me. And thankfully, I do, have cashew nut. I've reintroduced cashew nuts, but you could do coconut yogurt, if you've still not reintroduced. So that's a good, breakfast, takes care of breakfast. Then these grain-free tortilla chips, cassava chips by Siete brand is absolutely great too, for munching in between in your journey when you are hungry. And then these are again some options which I for snacking, like the AIP brownies. This I made one time when I was going with friends for 3-4 days together, and I knew that my friends would be indulging in a lot of treats outside. We had gone to New Orleans, and that place is known for a lot of desserts. So I made this dessert for myself in advance. And since we were going to be staying in a rental home, we could do it. We were also on the road quite a bit. So I didn't bring this with me everywhere, but it was there for part of the journey. Then Eat Gangster cookie mix. I wanted to know this, share, because this is also something that I have recently tried, and it's really great because it's a mix and you ready made. You can make cookies very easily, bake a batch of cookies, bake a batch of banana bread, and then before you're traveling, if you do that, it's easy for you to bring along with yourself when you're traveling. And then Wild Zora is another great brand because they have meals to go pouches. So soups and bars and cereals also, they're available. Their soups are really delicious, and all it needs to reconstitute is like hot water, which you can get from any coffee place. Even at an airport, you can find hot water. Or if you're staying in a hotel, you can actually, either ask for hot water, or if you have a coffee maker in your room, you can actually just boil hot water there. So those are some examples of things you can do. Now, the other thing is, while you actually you reach your destination, and then where are you going to be staying? So you have two options, right? You could either be staying in a rental home, or you could be staying in a hotel. Now, if you really are planning a long stay, if your vacation is going to be for like a week or more, then I really, really recommend you do a rental home, because then that way you have the kitchen to yourself and you can cook your own meals over there. And that makes things so much more easier, right? And only thing I would advise you is that get your pantry ingredients, whatever things that you would need, that you can bring with you, then, do that, because in that way it'll save you some time over there. And especially some specialty ingredients like the brand of coconut milk that is AIP compliant, cassava flour, coconut sugar. Some of these things you may not find in the, the local place where you are going. In their grocery stores, you may not find those things available. So it's better to, bring those specialty ingredients with you as you go. And then also, if you can bring, instant pot, that is, if you're traveling by road, then you can bring your instant pot with you, and that will be great for you to cook some meals and soups, etc. Now, if you are not having that option of staying in a rental home, hotel, if you're staying, then what you could do is you could bring some semi-cooked meals that can last you for a day or so. And if the hotel has a refrigerator, then you can, put those things in there, and then maybe you can, survive on those for longer than a day. If you ask, most hotels will give you a room which has a mini refrigerator and a microwave. So those are, some of the quick things that come to mind. And then, wherever you are, so if you're staying in a rental home, then what are some things that you can cook? Actually, not just rental home. So if you are staying in a hotel, but if you want to bring some things along, then these are also some good things that you can pack. Like your soups are great because you can make a big batch of soup and then pack it in individual containers, and you could probably freeze them. And if you're going by road, and then use a cooler and put them in the containers, so that by the time you reach the destination, they're still good, and then you can transfer them into the refrigerator in the hotel. Or if you have a a rental home, then you can use your kitchen, and using the Instant Pot, you can make soups like this. My chicken noodle soup is my favorite, chicken minestrone, or baked chicken and veggies. Like these are quick meals that you on vacation, you don't want to be spending a lot of time cooking. So these are, great quick meals that you can make. All these recipes are there on my website, and I'll put a link in the description box. Um, then the other thing is, like, if you are in a hotel, you can make some meals, but then it's impossible for you to survive your entire time, in on your vacation, just by, you're not going to be able to bring everything, especially if you're on a long vacation and you're in a hotel. And if you have a hectic schedule, like you travel, for example, when couple years ago, we as a family traveled to California, and we were, all the days we were on the road, because we travel so much, from national park, the different national parks, and then just between two destinations also we had to cover a lot of distance. So when you have a busy schedule like that, it's not possible for you to cook, your meal. So you will have to rely on eating outside. And so then these are some tips for eating out. And one of the things, like, I really like to do is, when I'm booking a hotel, I like to see that there are good, restaurant options nearby. You always, sometimes you have no choice, because if you are going to, say, like a rural place and it doesn't have a lot of good places around, then it's unfortunate, you can't do anything about it. But if possible, look around. It's possible to get a hotel that is surrounded by really good, healthy eating places. So smoothie joints are my favorite, because then I don't have to worry about breakfast. So I get up in the morning and then just go to the smoothie place. And most of these smoothie joints will accommodate you, so you can easily tell them, regardless of what's put up on their board, on their menu, you can tell them, what to mix and match, like what things you would like to have in your smoothie. So you can very well make sure that your smoothie is AIP compliant. So, and they will, definitely oblige you. So that's a good option. Then there are places for lunch also. Look for places that will have like nourish bowls, or make your own bowl kind of places. A lot of times, you will, if you look carefully, you will find these places. That's been my experience lately, that in many towns, good healthy places are slowly beginning to sprout up, which is great, right? Which is absolutely fabulous. But so definitely look, and look at all the options. And these, again, make your own bowls are great, because then you can tell what you want. You can pick and choose the vegetables. So you can definitely avoid the nightshade vegetables, like the potatoes and the tomatoes, and then get your roast veggies, the protein. And then even the sauce that they will have, you can ask them what is there in the sauce, and then either you can skip it, or you can take it on the side and then taste it and then decide. Similarly, for lunch, I'm sorry, salads, for lunch, you can do the same thing. Ask, and most places will actually accommodate restrictions and create a special dish for you. You just have to ask. And then, as I said before, study menus carefully, because sometimes even within a menu, you'll be pleasantly surprised that they have some good option. For example, in our local restaurant in my town where I live, I recently noticed that I've been going to this place for years, and then recently I noticed that they have a dish that they make. It's basically grain-free, that they make using zucchini noodles. It's a zoodle dish. And I was like, wow, that's awesome. Like, I didn't have to make any change to that dish, except that I told them to, get me the sauce on the side. But otherwise, it was really compliant, except for, black pepper, which I'm able to have now. So that's the thing. And then finally, what else? When I think about it, after all my experience, my own personal experience, as well as I provide consultation to clients, and over the years, I have given a lot of advice to my clients. And what I have found are like there are three different things. I mean, one is like what you will eat and how you will be able to manage to stay compliant AIP and not eat anything outside of it. Um, and then, the journey itself is one. And then the third thing, though, is your mental determination, your resolve to stay compliant, right? And even though I'm mentioning it in the end, this is actually the most important part. Because when you're on vacation, what happens is your mind tends to succumb, right, to temptations. So your resolve kind of goes down, because when you are in the vacation mode, you're out to enjoy yourself, and rest of your family is enjoying. You see them having treats, indulging in things like, and you have to stay compliant. So you begin to feel like sorry for yourself, and you're like so tempted, like you're this close to saying that, oh, heck with the diet, I'm just going to go eat this thing, right? So for me, it's interesting that when I first started AIP, these kind of distractions never happen, because I was so darn focused on getting myself better. I was in so much pain when I first started AIP that my determination was like really there. I was, nothing could distract me. I would not get swayed by all those streets, nothing. I was like, I actually, the first month that I was on AIP, we went on a cruise as a family. And you can imagine, how much distraction is there from food perspective on a cruise. But I managed to stay 100% AIP compliant. So that was because of that determination. And then I tried to tell myself that I am able to enjoy this cruise, right? Move around, because I'm doing the AIP, and I want to get even better. So if I do, have something out of the thing, then my inflammation will come back. So that prevented me from indulging in anything non-AIP. So, definitely you will have to do that talking to yourself and prioritize, what is important to you. But then some other tips is that so when your family, for example, is like, having some ice cream or some other non-AIP dessert, like a, pastry, and what you can do is you can just get some AIP compliant beverage, so while you're at the same table, they're having all these desserts. What are you going to do? If you're just going to stare at them, it's going to make it worse, right? So get something like to drink, an AIP compliant beverage, like a herbal tea, or even, alka seltzer, or sparkling water, with lemon, something like that. Or what sometimes I like to do, if that option is there, I'll just tell them, hey, you guys go do whatever you want to do. I am going to go do some window shopping or some actual shopping. Or maybe better, I'll go to a spa and have a facial done, so that way I feel like I'm treating myself in a different way. The other thing you can do is you promise yourself that you will make yourself an AIP treat when you get home. So then that way you're like, that's okay, let them eat whatever they want now. I'm going to get my treat when I get home. And then there's also the alcoholic drinks. That's also a question. I have never been a huge drinker, or, in my life ever, but occasionally I would drink cocktail drinks. And then when I would be with friends, that's always like when you are with friends hanging out at a restaurant, that's the time when everybody likes to have a drink. And so now what I do is I'll either get kombucha. If I'm in a hotel, I like to stock, some kombucha bottles too in my fridge, so that I have it. I can bring it along if I'm going out for dinner, or get some sparkling water, or some just, order some freshly squeezed juice, but make sure it is AIP compliant and doesn't have any sweeteners. So those are my tips. And lastly, I would like to have you focus on this. I love this image, right? What does it say? So it says that I can. So you can indeed travel on AIP as long as you are mentally determined, and as long as you take some practical tips and do some advanced planning, you will be able to do it. All right.